Would you enjoy standing outside in the sun with 30 plus dogs for 3 hours at a time? Me too. About 2 years ago, I worked at a doggy daycare and pet hotel thing, and I got to hang out outside with a bunch of dogs every morning. Most of the time, that part was really fun. You're like literally surrounded by love. You also get to see some really cool, unique social dynamics and get to know non-human personalities. Another great thing was that I was surrounded by people who had at least a similar level of animal love as myself. Don't get me wrong, my non-work friends were okay with animals, but it was more like they'd love them over there. My coworkers and I were like kindred spirits that way. We were always happy to see an animal. It was really refreshing not to feel like the insane animal lady and fit in for once. We were all the type to go, if we saw a dog on a walk, even if we just worked a double surrounded by tons of them and their poop. Oh, the poop. Now that's the real exciting part here. Maybe it wasn't something you thought about when you suddenly considered working at a doggy daycare or kennel or hotel or whatever you want to call it. The poop was everywhere. With that many animals, there's no escaping it. And in order to keep our reputation of being one of the neatest and least foul-smelling facilities in the city, we really had to be on top of it. However, there were some poop bandits in the group sometime. And by that I mean dogs that would race you to the poop so that they could eat it before you picked it up. You could see a dog across the yard doing the little rainbow squat with their tails curled up, and you just had to glance over to see if that one dog sees it happening too. And they always know. They look back at you, waiting to see if you will make the first move. You can grab your scooper as fast as you can and jog as fast as possible without causing a mass group zoomie, but it will always go to waste. You can yell at them, you can spray them in the face with water, but some dogs just cannot let it go. They must eat it. The worst bit about that is other dogs sometimes learn this behavior from the one gross dog, and then you have a true war on your hands. It's disgusting, I know. But the poop wasn't so bad during playtimes, especially if your poo eater wasn't there that day. The worst was in their rooms. Most dogs were fine, as we'd let them out often to potty, and they would do it outside. However, when pets are away from home and their schedule, a lot of them get stressed. Like, really stressed. Sometimes they'd have the stress poops overnight. I was part of the morning shift most often, and coming into work early in the morning to have to scrub dried diarrhea off the walls and gates wasn't the best experience. And after that, you could scrub your hands until they bled and you would still feel like you had something gross under your fingernails. Ugh. But I digress. It was mostly happy fun times. And to be totally honest, I didn't mind the mess that much, which is why I almost always was the person on the shift that had to deal with it. Now, all of this shaped up to be one of my favorite jobs, believe it or not. The only thing that made it halfway miserable was my boss and the owners. Most owners, I will admit, were just fine. They would come up, drop their dogs off before going to work, and be on their way. But some people were crazy. The one I remember most clearly was an owner who had a beautiful female Doberman. All natural, if I might add. She was very sweet, if a little overweight. This owner told us she had an especially important diet and demanded that she be in a specific room. This person fed their dog goat's milk, and at least one boiled egg every day. To be honest, the egg isn't super weird, and maybe it was good for her. What really gets me is the goat's milk. Most dogs cannot handle milk at all after they're weaned. This owner just went on and on about how she's on a special diet and some medication and she gets diarrhea so much. You need to rush her outside when she needs to go because she gets such horrible, awful diarrhea. Myself and my coworkers were just taking it in like, yeah, she has the runs, so you give her milk? But of course we are not her owner, nor are we her vet, so we had to follow the owner's directions. And sure enough, I was cleaning her room every morning. I think about her a lot. She only stayed with us once or twice, but she was one of those really weird, unique cases that stick with you. There was another owner who was a very frequent client, like everyday frequent. They had a Schnauzer who just really weaseled his way into all of our hearts. We loved him so much, which is why he got to stay. His owners were horrible to us most of the time. I never really got the bad end of it myself, as I'm sort of mousy and agreeable, and I tried my best to always say whatever they wanted to hear. Their dog was, How can I explain it? He was squarular. Like, he was so fat that his butt somehow got corners on it. He was a rectangle. He was definitely borderline obese. Now, we did what we could to get him to exercise. One of my coworkers, who mainly worked in the afternoon, really made it her mission and would take him with her to walk around the facility while she cleaned. If we took him out to play with the other dogs, he would just chill and sleep, or he'd be stressed and snappy with the other dogs. But we really loved him and we tried our best to help. His owners would bring like half a can of some sort of sausagey wet dog food that they had hand spread out and placed carefully on a dinner plate for him to eat. A dinner plate for him to eat his lunch. As fat as this dog was, you would think he was a glutton. Nope. He had to be hand-fed, which sometimes would take like a half hour plus. And heaven forbid you didn't get him to eat it all. Normally we return any leftover food to the owners for reuse or just so that they could see how their dog ate at our facility. But these people, if you gave them back anything or just showed them before you washed their plate, they would literally curse you out. They followed one of my coworkers out to her car and just screamed at her the entire way. Even after she got into her car, they were still yelling at her. They were lucky their dog was so cute. Just like a lot of dogs we couldn't bear to turn away. It wasn't their fault their owners were so mean. I think that's about all for now. Maybe I'll make a second one. I have a lot of stories from that job. It was a lot of fun. I even took some video on a slower day outside in the yard, so I'll just put that here. Thanks for watching.